6 armed commandos, a rented fishing boat, pitch-black waters off Kuwait's coast. Their mission? Infiltrate Bubiyan Island and kill or capture American soldiers stationed there. This was not a proxy. This was not a Houthi. This was the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps itself, caught red-handed mid-ceasefire, attempting to drag the entire Gulf into a new phase of war. And when the dust settled from that single operation, the revelation that followed buried the headline completely. Because on the same day the world learned about Kuwait, it also learned that the UAE and Saudi Arabia had been secretly striking targets inside Iran, and nobody had said a word. The Middle East is no longer watching a US-Iran war from the sidelines. The neighbors have entered the arena. And Tehran, already broken economically, already surrounded militarily, is now being hit from directions it never prepared for. To understand what May 12th revealed, you have to rewind to February 28, 2026. On that date, the United States and Israel launched a coordinated air campaign against Iran, codenamed Operation Epic Fury, eliminating Iran's supreme leader and dismantling decades of military infrastructure in a matter of hours. Iran's response was volcanic. Ballistic missiles, Reaper drones, cruise missiles. They rained on every U.S. base in the region. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Oman all took fire simultaneously. The scale of what the UAE absorbed alone is staggering. According to the UAE Ministry of Defense, by early April, Iran had fired 537 ballistic missiles, 2,256 drones, and 26 cruise missiles at Emirati territory. Think about that number. Over 2,800 projectiles targeting one country in less than 40 days. The Oracle data center in Dubai was hit. Gas facilities in Habshan were struck, eliminating workers. The Barouj petrochemicals plant was set ablaze. Iranian drones lit fires near Dubai International Airport. The skies over Abu Dhabi became a combat zone. And yet, and here is the critical detail that changes everything, the UAE said almost nothing publicly. No dramatic press conferences, no televised retaliation declarations, just silence and quiet strikes. The Wall Street Journal broke the story on May 11th. The UAE had launched covert strikes on Iran's Lavan Island oil refinery in the Persian Gulf, a precision operation that sparked a massive fire and knocked the facility offline. Iran admitted the refinery had been hit. Tehran retaliated against the UAE and Kuwait, but the damage was irreversible. And according to Bloomberg, that was not even the only UAE strike. The UAE reportedly hit multiple targets, both before and after the April 8th ceasefire, with at least one strike coordinated with Israel. Then came the Reuters report published on May 13th. Saudi Arabia had done the same. The Royal Saudi Air Force launched what two Western officials described as tit-for-tat strikes against Iranian territory in late March, the first known instance in history of Saudi military forces conducting offensive operations on Iranian soil. Riyadh warned Tehran in advance, followed the strikes with intense back-channel diplomacy, and delivered a stark threat. Continue attacking the kingdom, and the restraint ends. Iranian strikes on Saudi Arabia dropped from over 105 incidents in a single week to just 25 in the following days. The threat worked. This was not impulsive. This was a calculated escalation doctrine. Hit hard, hit quietly, then let the fear do the rest. But the most alarming development of the past 48 hours came not from the sky, but from the sea. On May 1st, while the ceasefire was theoretically in effect, Iran dispatched 6 armed IRGC commandos aboard a rented fishing boat toward Kuwait's Bubiyan Island, a strategic landmass that hosts U.S. Marine contingents and sits at the mouth of the Shatt al-Arab River. During a confrontation with Kuwaiti forces, gunfire erupted. One Kuwaiti soldier was wounded. 4 IRGC officers were captured. 2 fled. The arrested commandos confessed their mission: infiltrate the island and carry out hostile acts against Kuwait. Kuwait's foreign ministry called it a flagrant violation of sovereignty and invoked Article 51 of the UN Charter, the right to self-defense. The UAE condemned it in the strongest terms. Saudi Arabia denounced it. The The GCC Secretary General described it as a systematic attempt to destabilize the region. Iran's response? The four officers accidentally entered Kuwaiti waters due to a navigation system malfunction. Four armed IRGC colonels on a specially chartered fishing boat carrying weapons for a navigation malfunction. Meanwhile, back inside Iran, the economic situation has crossed from crisis into catastrophe. The International Monetary Fund projects that Iran's economy will shrink by 6.1% in 2026, with inflation running at nearly 69%. But that figure is already outdated. Iran International reports current inflation above 73%, with some medicine prices surging by 380 to 400%. The Iranian rial passed 1.81 million to the US dollar in a single trading session, an 8% collapse in one day. Iran has issued its largest ever currency denomination, a 10 million rial note, just 1 month after introducing the 5 million. Food inflation was running at 105% on the eve of war. Senior Iranian economic officials have privately warned President Pezeshkian it may take more than a decade to rebuild. One Iranian economist at an Iran International Town Hall in Washington said it plainly, "I'm talking about inflation in months, no longer in years." And that is the reality we're dealing with. As for Pakistan, the self-appointed neutral mediator, it has now been revealed by CBS News that Islamabad covertly allowed Iranian military aircraft to shelter at Nur Khan Air Base after the ceasefire. An RC-130 reconnaissance aircraft was reportedly parked there. U.S. officials have not forgotten. The ceasefire, extended twice, now sits, in Trump's own words, on massive life support with about a 1% chance of surviving. The Pentagon has quietly begun planning a follow-on operation, internally codenamed Sledgehammer. 2 aircraft carrier strike groups remain on station in the region. And Project Freedom, the naval blockade targeting Iranian oil exports, has been paused, not canceled. The Gulf states are not waiting. They are arming, coordinating, and striking. Saudi Arabia signed a deal to purchase interceptor missiles from Ukraine. Israel sent Iron Dome batteries to the UAE. Over 200 Ukrainian drone operators are deployed across the region. The security architecture of the Middle East is being rebuilt in real time. Tehran believed it could close a waterway and make the world blink. Instead, it awoke neighbors who had never struck Iranian soil and forced them to. The map is no longer the same. Iran is surrounded, not by an alliance it can negotiate with, but by a coalition it helped create. The question is no longer whether the ceasefire survives. The question is what Iran looks like on the other side of it. Here is the cold reality no diplomat wants to say out loud. Every path forward for Iran leads through fire. If the ceasefire collapses, the Institute for the Study of War has assessed that Iran is preparing. Its missile stockpiles remain at roughly 70% of pre-war levels. 30 of 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz are back online. IRGC naval drills are ongoing at Mashhar Port, 100 kilometers from Bubiyan Island. Iran is pre-positioning. If a nuclear deal is reached, Iran still faces what one analyst called inflation in months, not years. Even in the best-case scenario, its economy is structurally shattered. Its infrastructure will take a decade to rebuild. The Saudi Aramco CEO warned that the disruption to shipping could last into 2027, even after the conflict formally ends. And if the Strait of Hormuz remains a contested waterway, which Iran is pushing for by demanding sovereign recognition over it, the IEA has already characterized what has happened as the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market, triggering an energy shock that echoes the 1970s oil crisis.